I uninstalled both Twitter and Instagram.
Wow. I really did start noticing it after I turned 30.
The sentiment that I've sort of gathered is we're not going to start doing checks for you until you turn 40.
My body was quite unhappy with me after the fact, but I did it, and I was very proud to do it.
We have to be more preventative. We can't just react to, oh, you have diabetes now. It costs an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
It's for the top expensive. 1%, top 0.5%.
Like, I need some of that cardio stuff. I need the strength, and I need the mobility and stretching now, which was never part of my routine in the past.
Welcome back to That 30 Show, and welcome back to G, my favorite co-host.
Yeah! Welcome back to me. Oh my goodness. I've had a journey over the past couple of weeks. And thanks to you and Krishanu for holding down the fort last time. It was a wonderful conversation. I had to cancel super last minute. I think you saw my text like 1 minute before recording.
Yeah, I don't usually check. I don't get notifications. I don't check my text. So I was just opening up WhatsApp before we record as a way to communicate. And then, at 9:59, I opened it up and then I saw the message from like 7 a.m. Like, I can't make it. I'm sick.
Yeah.
Okay, well, too late to reschedule.
Oh my goodness. I feel like I've been sick like 4 times in the last 6 months. I don't know what is going on. Yeah.
Like, and it's sick. You're not just like, oh, feel a bit of a muscle ache. Maybe I'm coming down with something. It's like you came down with something.
It's like a respiratory sickness. So I didn't have a fever or like a cold. It was simply a cough and like congestion. And so it's like odd because usually when you get a cold, you get like the whole, like you can't really get out of bed kind of thing. But for me, it was mostly like sore throat, cough. It wasn't COVID, but I don't know what it is. And I thought by now I would have some kind of immunity to it. But I can't claim to be that girl that is never sick anymore.
So you mean your energy levels were fine? It's just you had some respiratory symptoms?
Yeah, like I couldn't really speak and I just was coughing like all the time.
Well, I mean, what you're sharing with me kind of feeds my conspiracy theory. Not that that's a theme of our show because it feels like it's starting to become a theme of our show. It's not intentional. But my conspiracy theory, which is like something happened to our bodies. I don't know if it's because of COVID or because of the vaccines or a combination of both. But people are getting sick more often in ways that we didn't used to. And it's all very respiratory related. We're finding it harder to recover from these respiratory illnesses that we have, and it strikes us harder. For you, it was not that hard, but it's very weird, right? You said you have those symptoms, but you're not. So I just think that everyone's effed up since COVID. It did something to our bodies, and or the vaccines did something to our bodies, and we're in a new era of health as a result. That's my conspiracy theory.
Yeah. So after I got over that sickness, I was like, I want to talk about this on the podcast because I just feel like so many changes are happening, at least with my body, that I'm like, oh my goodness, is it just me or are other people feeling it?
Is it our 30s?
Is it age? I really did start noticing it after I turned 30. It was like with the snap of a finger, I turned 30, and then after I started noticing all these like weird things. But maybe I was just focusing on it.
I want to give you a shout out though. Like you look great today, or in general. But you got some new highlights. It looks like.
Thank you.
Got a new look.
Yes, I got some.
It's kind of edgy, kind of punk rock girl, kind of style to me. I don't know if that's right. That's what
channeling my inner Avril Lavigne. Yeah. Today, nice. And I got a black shirt on. I know, feeling punk rock.
Punk rock was my go-to main genre of music.
Really?
In high school, yeah. Like I'm not a big music person, but when I was into music, when I did listen to a lot of music, it was punk rock. Punk rock was my thing. So not just like My Chemical Romance is probably the most mainstream version of that. So I certainly listened to that. But I listened to I even had some bands I listened to that were kind of like screamo. Do you know what screamo is? Emo?
Whoa, no, whoa.
Yeah. Well, angsty high school.
Yeah.
Anyways,
did you have the look too?
Or did you?
Oh, okay.
Can you imagine me
I'm
with a
trying to
emo
imagine
look? No,
like dyed hair, blue hair.
no,
No,
no, no,
okay.
no, no, no,
All
no,
right.
no. But you got a nice emo look almost.
Thank you.
Not emo, but yeah.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, tell me. So what's going on? Why do you think you've gotten sick 4 times in the last 6 months?
I also think it's because either our immunities are down from COVID or something that happened with COVID, but it's just weird because I've never had these types of sicknesses before. Like I used to just get colds, right? Like if I was sick, I would get a cold. But this is
But it's the
definitely
cough,
it's a
right?
cough. It's the sore throat. It's just weird. Like I don't remember having these types of
It's because
illnesses when
it's
I was
because of
younger.
COVID slash the vaccines. It screwed us up.
Yeah. And then on top of that, as you know, on from the pod, I've gotten food poisoning twice now in the past 2 years. So it
Yes.
it almost feels like it's just like, one thing after the other. It's like just every few months there's something that happens. Either I'm sick or I get sick from eating something. So now I'm really just trying to be more mindful and increase my immunity because like it's not what it used to be.
So I feel like this is a bit of a chicken soup episode, or we're hoping it is, in terms of we need this. We need to find a way to rejuvenate ourselves, to nourish our bodies. So
Mm-hmm.
what do you want to like unpack? Do you want to talk about ways that you do try and keep up your health, or I don't know what's or things that you've noticed you maybe have been doing that have not helped your immunity?
Yeah. Well, first, let me start off with like a good news story, which is my 5K. I
Okay.
want to talk about that. So
Okay, sure.
I was
She doesn't like
sick.
running.
I don't like running, as
No.
yeah, no, and I don't run, but I wanted to try and get into it because okay, so every time I've gone running, the runner's high is real. Like it's not just a thing that people say. I think it is real. Like you get all these
Not for me.
endorphin. Not for you, really. Endorphins that I don't normally get from the gym. I do feel
Oh,
it.
interesting.
Yeah. Like I've gone on
Well, it's a
runs and
very
then
different
after
type of exercise than your gym workouts, though, right? Like your gym workouts are more strength based. It's not cardio, right?
yeah, but even if I've done like a cardio workout, it's not the same as running. I don't know. I can't really explain it, but like I feel like there is a high afterwards and I feel way more energized. Like I can go do other things. Like last time I went for a run, afterwards I was asking my friends, I was like, anyone want to go for a walk? And they're like, you should probably like relax and just like chill out because you might get super sore if you go on and do these things. Anyways, I don't really run, but I did agree to a 5K run like a few months ago with our friend Audrey, who is on the pod. And I had every intention to train and run a few 5Ks before this race. Practice, get myself into the groove, and then I got sick. Right for like 10 days. I didn't get a chance to. I didn't even exercise for 10 days. I didn't get a chance to do any of that. So I went into the 5K cold with a cold,
Like,
and 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 also I don't know, maybe this is TMI, but I was also on my cycle, so everything was like not working in my
damn,
favor. But I went and
perfect
I did it.
storm.
Perfect storm, exactly. And I like did really well, surprisingly. So I was really impressed with my, I guess, baseline level of fitness. I think it went well. I came in like, I didn't know they were even tracking it, but I came in like 33rd out of 530 people. So for
So
me, I was very impressed.
everything is relative, right? So you always want to compete against yourself. So do you know what
Mm-hmm.
is your previous 5K times, or generally, and what it was this time?
I don't really know my previous fight because I've only done it like one other time. So I don't, and I didn't, I wasn't tracking myself, but I did like 5.22K in 30 minutes. So
So this time you did
something around the
5.2 in
six.
30 minutes.
Mm-hmm,
So 6 minute pace for about half an hour.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And this is like someone who, not someone, this is, you are someone who never runs. This is maybe literally your second or third 5K official sort of track time in your life.
Yeah, yeah. And I've never done like a race where like you are trying to go as fast as possible, because
Yeah.
usually it's just for leisure.
Well, I
Um,
I think that's really good, especially for someone who doesn't run, right? Like you don't,
yeah.
and you were sick. You're on your cycle. It was a perfect storm, and you hammered out 6 minute pace for half an hour.
Yeah, my body was
I'd
quite
say,
unhappy with me after the fact, but I did it and I was very proud to do it. So,
yay!
yay.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So are you gonna become a runner now? All the running people in the audience are like, gee, come to the dark side.
You know what? I'm feeling actually quite confident. Like if I had a better scenario or situation, if all things aligned for me, I feel like I could have ran more. But during the 5K, I literally could not have ran another kilometer. Like by the time I reached the finish line, I was starting to like see stars. I was getting lightheaded. I was like, oh, I can't run even another
Mm-hmm.
half kilometer more.
Mm.
Um, do you run? You run sometimes, right?
Yeah, I ran. I just went for a run this morning. I try and run about. I try and go for a run once a week on the weekend because I
Mm-hmm.
have a bit more time. I really actually the benefit I get is not so much anything from the running necessarily, although I'm sure that's part of it. The benefit I get is doing exercise outdoors in the sun
Mm-hmm.
first thing in the morning. I find
Mm.
that when I do that or when I bike to work, it's that more early morning outdoor exercise that just it's magical. It's
Mm-hmm.
like I don't get the runner's high. I've complained many times when I do my calisthenics at home. I just feel like crap before, during, and after. But
Yes.
it's the outdoor exercise before like 9 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
that just has a magical effect. It feels great. The rest of the day feels good. The sleep that coming night is amazing. So that's why I really like trying to go out for a morning run on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually just go for, well, I shouldn't say just, but I go for like what I try and do is zone 2, which is around I
Mm-hmm.
think 70% of your maximum heart rate. Don't quote me on that, but for me that's around 140 beats per minute is my zone 2 target. So I don't really run for pace or anything. I just try and do 5K while maintaining a zone 2 rate. That's what I do.
Wow. Just a 5K on the regular. That's very
But it's
impressive to me.
yeah, I don't know. I don't. That's why I think it makes a big difference. The pace, like I don't find it very hard personally, but I'm going really slow, right? I'm going at like a 7 minute 7:15 pace maybe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so the idea of zone 2 is that you're able to hold a conversation while doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So and that's what I find myself able to do. Like sometimes I'm just sometimes like running by myself and I would like start talking to myself just to double check like, oh, am I able to talk? Yes,
You
okay.
can still
It's a
talk.
good pace. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, the
So yeah,
outdoors is
that's
really
just my
important. You're probably getting a ton of oxygen to your brain. So that's probably what it is. You're just like
okay.
breathing in all of that fresh air. I think
Yeah.
like they say if you go running in like a forest or like a trail running, it's like even better because you're
Oh,
literally
nice.
surrounded by all this
Yeah.
fresh oxygen.
I,
But
I, I
yeah.
am curious. Maybe next weekend I'll try and go like quote unquote as fast as possible because I wonder what
Mm,
my 5K time is. I don't know what my 5K time is because I don't go for pace. I just go for heart
mm-hmm,
rate, right? So
mm-hmm.
like literally I will be, oh my gosh, can I run faster? And I'm like, nope. If I run faster, my heart rate's going to go up. But I feel so
Oh,
comfortable. So if I
uh-huh.
actually push myself, I wonder what my time would be. Maybe I'll try it and then report back
Yeah.
in a month or two
Yeah.
when
Report
we do
back.
another recording.
But no, I just found that like super encouraging because like being sick, it's discouraging, right? Because you're like, ugh, like my body seems to be failing me. But I after running, I felt it was like very super encouraging because I was like, okay, like my baseline fitness is there. All this work that I've done to try and build that up has not gone to waste. Like I could do a 5K still, even though I haven't worked out in quite some time. But one thing I did want to talk about, and because I've been doing this recently, um, are like routine checkups in your
Hmm.
30s. Um, I don't
Okay.
know if you do those, but I've started like maybe I wouldn't want to say like 5 years ago or 3 years ago, just being really mindful of going to get things checked. We're blessed to live in a country where going to see the doctor is relatively easy and accessible, but just I've found myself like not any little thing, but like anything that I've noticed feels like kind of off, I would just go and get checked. And I do, the regular blood tests and things like that. Just gives me a peace of mind.
I have a lot of thoughts about this, but let me start with asking you, what are these checks that you're doing? How do you get it? What are you asking for? How do you know what to ask for? You said blood tests. Okay. What are you telling your doctor? Is it a family doctor? Like, walk me through from step one. Like, how do you know what to ask for? Who do you ask? What are you looking for? What kind of tests are you doing?
So annually, I go and ask my doctor just for like a full blood test, like a full panel blood test. So basically,
So
anything that
blood test.
you,
Okay.
yeah, anything that you want, because I feel like there's so many things that you can detect from a blood test. Obviously, you can't just go and get like, I don't know, an MRI scan anytime you want. Like there has to
Okay.
be, I think, something wrong or to go do that. Or those kinds of exams are more like if there's actually something wrong. But I think a routine blood test is pretty important because it can tell you a lot of things just from based on your blood. And I just love seeing like all the different results and
Mm-hmm.
seeing that I'm within the scope of the normal normal levels. So that's something that I normally do. But there's also, I think, at least for BC, there's a lot of other exams that you can just get done routinely. Like I know there's now this like at home pap smear test that you could do like for
Fun.
women. Yeah, fun. You don't have to go to the doctor's office to do it. You could just do it right at home. Um, there's a few things like that for at least
Okay, but for
our province.
you, you're just doing a blood test. When you talk about, oh, I get a routine check, what you
Mm-hmm.
mean is I get my blood tested
I get,
once a year.
yeah, blood tested. And sometimes I've only done this like maybe twice, but you can go to your doctor's office and ask just for like a physical exam too. Like they'll just do like kind of like a body scan type of thing for you. So you can go get that done too. I almost wish there was like a very comprehensive body scan exam type of thing. There must be. I just haven't really looked into it. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
So here's my thoughts. I'm curious because I really want to do these body checks. My partner is
Mm-hmm.
really into that as well, like always wanting to get me to get things checked out or just get a comprehensive body check just because you don't know what's going on. But the problem I found, and maybe this is, yeah, I'm not sure. I'll be very curious what others' experiences. So let us know. But the problem I found is that at this age, even though, yeah, we say we're getting older, but like in the scheme of things, 30s is very young for doctors. They're like 30s and 40s. They don't really consider you to be like in any danger period of age yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so from the few times I've either expressed interest to get something checked out or expressed concern, oh, could it be this? Could it be that? The sentiment that I've sort of gathered is we're not going to start doing checks for you until you turn 40 because,
Mm.
well, X, Y, and Z. And so but then I really want to get, for example, a comprehensive body check. Maybe if I ask for a blood test, they'll give it to me because when I say they, I mean my family doctor, because it
Mm-hmm.
sounds like you get that. But I don't know what I can ask for. And my weird, I don't know, social anxiety, shy personality, whatever you call it, doesn't
Mm-hmm.
want to ask for something that they're going to like, what are you doing? That's ridiculous. You don't need that. I don't want to get that reaction. So I'm like, what do I ask for and what's going to be reasonable? In my mind, based on the books I've read, Outlive by Peter Attia, etc., what I really, really want is to have a doctor or be enrolled in some sort of clinic that understands health span, not lifespan, which means that at this age, you are starting to exhibit rising measurements that indicate that you are trending in the wrong direction in certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, right? And that you need to start working on it now. Basically, we have to be more preventative. We can't just react to, oh, you have diabetes now. It's
Yeah.
like, no, you could have seen those warning signs like 10, 15 years in advance. So health, I find that based on, the health books I've read, the, what I've realized is that the healthcare system today is not designed for preventative medicine. It's designed for reactive medicine. That's how Western medicine works, right? And so what I did was I did a Google search a few weeks ago, just out of curiosity. And this might answer your question. You're like, oh, there must be health checks. Well, in along the lines of what I'm looking for, which is longevity clinics, clinics or doctors that will test you for ApoB levels, or whatever things that people do when you look at the longevity stuff. So they exist in Vancouver. I'm sure other cities too. There's longevity clinics, and even I found one where on the homepage it was like, go read this book, Outlive. Our practice follows this philosophy. And I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I want to enroll in this. And then you can maybe imagine where I'm going with this, which is it costs an arm and a leg.
Yeah, yeah.
It's for the top expensive. 1%, top 0.5%. Like I'm talking about like minimum 15-20K for like one body check. And it's of course it's a super comprehensive body check, right? Mm-hmm. But it costs tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And it's not covered by anyone's insurance, obviously.
Yeah.
So I just wish these really comprehensive body checks are more accessible financially, insurance-wise, but I'm not sure they are. Having said that, I'm not an expert at all on what kind of body checks are accessible or affordable, and that's why I was so curious what you do.
So for me, like I really have the mindset of like wanting to be preventative, because like you said, like even Peter Altea for his Outlive book, but like while you're healthy, making sure to go get those checked so that you can detect early signs of anything that might go wrong later in life. Like that's what you need to do. You can't wait until something happens to you before you go get it checked out and treat it, right? Something that I like to do is go to multiple doctors to see. Like if I really think that there's something off, I know my body best, right? So if I really think that there's something off and the doctor's like, oh, that's like nothing to worry about, but like I kind of feel my gut that like I should go get it checked out, I will go to like 2, 3, 4, I'll go to like walk-in clinics and just get like, if 4 doctors tell me that there's nothing to be worried about, then I feel a little bit more at peace. One doctor's opinion, even if that's my family doctor, and I feel like there's something going on, I will just go get 2nd, 3rd, 4th opinions. Like I'll just keep going until everyone is like, you're fine. I've done that.
You've actually done this?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
You just go to random like different walk-in clinics.
Well, now it's pretty easy. There's a lot of online doctors that you could just book an appointment with, like a walk-in doctor, but it's online. And so I will just book any random doctor online. And then I feel at ease and more at peace once I have like a few opinions. I just have experiences before where like with like family members where they've gone to one family doctor and continued to tell them it was okay, and then there was actually something wrong. And once they had gone to the other doctor, they actually got an exam done, figured out, okay, there was actually something wrong. So and doctors obviously have their own opinions and stuff like that. So it really depends, right? Some doctors are more lenient on the types of exams that they'll prescribe for you, and some are not as much. So.
Yeah, I think I was quite young, so I'm not sure, but yeah, I think my grandpa, who passed away a long time ago from I think lung cancer, was a lifelong smoker. It was sort of a botched case because his family doctor, dismissed it, didn't react early enough, didn't think it was serious enough, basically in hindsight, I remember the post-mortem was very much like, okay, the family doctor screwed it up. Could he have lived much longer? We don't know, but certainly it was something for much longer than the family doctor told us it was something. And like I had a recent case of where I noticed, especially on my face, that I'm having a lot of new, and I was already someone who have a lot of moles, but my mom was like on webcam, she's like, what are all those new moles? Like, she's like, can you show me? And then, moms know you best. They're like, she's like, you didn't have those 5 years ago. I'm like, no one's told me this.
Yeah.
Like, even my partner hasn't noticed, but moms know best. And she's like, no, those weren't there. I'm like, oh, okay. And then so she's like, can you get it checked out? I'm like, yeah, sure. And so I went to my family doctor, and then they did basically a visual full body scan of my moles.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the end, she's like, nope, you're fine. And then
Mm-hmm.
so I'm like, okay, wait, so how do you, based on, I don't remember how I asked, but I basically sort of trying to ask like, oh, so how do you, I'm just curious for my intellectual curiosity, based on what do you know that I'm fine?
Yeah.
And then she's like, clinical judgment,
Mm-hmm.
which is a perfectly acceptable answer, except that it plants the seed, which is, okay, so if I went to another doctor, they could think it's not fine. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's very like, she's like, you know, I've done this test hundreds of times. I've seen hundreds of patients. So based on that, I don't think there's any issue here.
Yeah.
And I think that's fine. She could very well be correct. But at the same time, it is a very judgment thing, it sounds like. So maybe if I go to 3 other doctors, maybe if 2 of them say that it's not okay.
Yeah.
So I should do what I think if I take your advice, what I should do is go into several different walk-in clinics, have like 3 different doctors all say I'm fine before I decide I'm fine.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I do anyway. It's like, it's just, I guess, yeah, being accurate and trying to get as many, like, it's a sample size thing, you know. If you get more doctors that tell you you're okay, maybe we'll put you at ease a bit more. Even putting people's mind at ease, right? That they're okay. Sometimes these things can also like just affect your mental health in general. If you're always just like, oh, is something wrong? Is something wrong? I have no idea.
So so it sounds like you do agree with my perception and our experience that it seems like there's some friction in Canada, in Vancouver, to get a comprehensive body check or body checks that you want, especially at a younger
it's just,
age.
Yep, it's just very expensive. And like from a lot of the articles I've been reading, a lot of these, serious health issues are starting like younger and younger, like 40s, 30s is when a lot of these actually are prevalent now.
So interestingly, I had a friend who recently went back home to Asia for like vacation or whatever, China specifically. I don't know if it's cheaper or if it's easier, but for one reason or another, they're like, oh, I always do this whenever I go home. I have a full body check in with the healthcare systems there. And it's like super good, super easy. I don't know. For some reason it's better. I don't know, it's financially, whatever. But they're like, yep, this is what I do because I can do it there and I can't do it here. Or it's not harder to do it here. Something like that. And then so they went recently, and then because of that, the doctors there spotted some sort of mass in their, like, I don't know. Anyway, somewhere in the body that was like, okay, this might be a thing, but then they're like, we don't know. We need to do further checks. And then they were only there for vacation, like for a short time. And so they're like, okay, when you go back to Canada, like follow up because it looks like it could be something. And then after doing some follow-ups, they determined here that it is a small tumor, but it's a benign tumor at this stage. And they're like, track it or like let us know if you have any new symptoms that come up.
Yeah.
But like a third of people have something like this and they're not even aware.
Yeah.
But my point is, to have found that is there was a result of this full body check. That is not just a blood test. It involved like some sort of scan that allowed them to see a potential tumor.
Yeah.
And they're not just scanning, one body part, they're scanning all the body parts, your kidneys, your whatever. And that's how they found this potential tumor. And it just because it's benign doesn't mean that it couldn't have been not benign, whatever not benign the word is. So it makes me think like maybe it is a geographical thing where in other countries it is much more normalized or routine or accessible to get regular full body checks even at a younger age.
Yeah. Well, petition to conduct full body scans after the age of 30 in Canada.
I mean, who knows? I could potentially maybe go to my family doctor and then request a full body check and they'll be like, okay. Like, I haven't tried, so I don't know. Maybe, again, I should try, do it for the pod, come back, report what my family doctor says if they roll their eyes all the way to the back of their head. but it's just a thing, I think, where they're like, oh, you're in your 30s, there's nothing wrong with you, right? But
Yeah.
it's like,
I
oh
mean,
no, I want it to be preventative. I want it to be comprehensive. I want to see what are the potential negative trends that are happening right now. Maybe I should just go to a Chinese doctor, right? Because Chinese medicine is holistic and preventative. Or actually, what I've actually, it's on my to-do list. I haven't done this for a while. I haven't done it yet, but it is to find a naturopath and go regularly, because naturopath is much more in tune with this idea of holistic mind, body,
mm-hmm.
preventative, and not just treat the symptoms, it's treat the root causes.
Yeah. Well, I
Anyways,
suppose
so
even in your regular life, there's things that you can do to prevent things. So we can do the best that we can in our daily routine.
do you have any
Exercise
like
being one of them.
any quick life hacks or tips? Not tips, but like what works for you? Do you want to? Do you have anything you want to share there for keeping up your health and immunity and all that?
Keeping up my health. So in terms of like exercise, I feel like I used to just concentrate on one type of exercise. When I was younger, that used to be a lot of cardio, and mainly that was for like aesthetics. Then I moved into like
Mm,
strength training a lot more because I just really enjoyed it and I love seeing like the progress that it brings me. And now I'm starting to like really shift my mentality to like, I need a balance of everything. Like, I need some of that cardio stuff, I need the strength, and I need the mobility and stretching now, which was never part of my routine in the past.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Um, Mobility, stretching, like deep breathing, yoga, that kind of, what is that kind of exercise called? It's not anaerobic, is it? I don't know. But anyway, I need that in my life because otherwise all the other exercises that I'm doing are not to like the best, like the extent possible that I could be, because like some strength training will require a lot of flexibility. So
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
for
mm-hmm,
me, I am really trying to focus on everything. I've started going to like yoga and Pilates classes, which I was never a
mm-hmm,
fan, because I was like, I'm not really sweating. Like, this is hardly a workout. I don't really feel anything. It's not
mm-hmm.
doing anything for me. But I've really recognized the importance of that. And I see the difference from that in all the other types of exercises that I'm doing.
So it sounds like for you, you are really thinking of trying to find a exercise regimen that is well rounded, that
Mm-hmm.
tackles cardio, strength, endurance, um, high intensity, low intensity. Like, just you can't just be one dimensional in the exercise that you do.
Yeah.
So unlike some of my friends who are like, well, I play badminton 3 times a week. It's like, no, that's a very singular type of activity. There's literally almost no, basically no resistance or strength in that. But
Yeah.
they're not really as passionate. Not they, but some of the people I'm talking to, they're not as passionate about this health scene. So they're like, oh, whatever. I don't still exercise, right? But like, no,
Yeah.
the fact is, you need strength, you need cardio, you need both.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I think the common thing is people don't like cardio. They're like, oh, I just want to lift weights, I don't want to do cardio. But
Yeah.
yeah, you need both. And that's why, I don't know if this is a good segue into a bit of a spiel I want to go on, but that's why I wanted to do CrossFit, because CrossFit is very well-rounded. It touches upon, it's like everything, like combine
Mm-hmm.
all the sports and all the different types of exercise into one. That's kind of CrossFit. Have you heard of that sentiment, or do you have that same perception of what CrossFit sort of provides?
I do have that perception of CrossFit, although then I've heard multiple, like some people say that that's good. Some people say that that's not good. Because like the good part is that you have everything all in one.
Mm-hmm.
The downside, I guess, or the things that I've heard that's negative about CrossFit is that there's not one thing that you're focusing on. Like, it's like
Yes, yeah, it's a
everything
very,
all at
you're
once.
not going to become like really good at any one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
And
But
then
that's what I'm looking for, though. I don't want to be really good at any one thing. I just want to be a well-rounded, healthy person.
yeah. I mean, if that's the goal, I think like where the critique comes from is like from like the strength training community. Even though, I mean, clearly you're building strength, but it's not the conventional strength training type of
In what
like where
way?
you're lifting weights. Well, you're like trying to lift weights at like a slower pace so you can increase your strength.
But you
Um,
do. But a huge part of CrossFit is focusing on progressively adding weights and weight to your lifts.
Yeah. I think it's like those movements too. People are often saying it's more prone to injury because you're doing those kinds of like, because it's like a full body movement, right? Versus targeting one specific area. Maybe I don't know CrossFit
Okay.
that much, but those are
Okay.
some of the critiques that I've heard for
Interesting.
CrossFit.
Interesting. Do you have 10 minutes for me to give everyone my review of my first
Yes, I was waiting
3
for
weeks of
this.
CrossFit?
Yeah. Oh, you've been doing it for 3 weeks?
Yeah, about 2.5, 3 weeks. Yeah,
Wow. Okay, let's hear it. How are you enjoying it?
very mixed so far.
Okay.
And I have to give a disclaimer, which is I'm only speaking to my experience,
Right.
to my CrossFit gym. The thing with CrossFit is that it's a general like style of exercise, but every CrossFit gym is a bit different in how they do things. It's not the same.
Okay.
But there's obviously similar threads. So, my experience with CrossFit may be very different to someone else's experience with CrossFit. And certainly my body might react to CrossFit differently than someone else. So with all that aside, this is just my experience. So the main reason, I mean, I can go on and on, but I want to just focus on the reason why I'm not sure if I want to continue, which is CrossFit involves a lot of Olympic weightlifting movements,
Yeah.
which means that you're lifting a barbell and bringing it from the floor to above your head, or from your knees to above your head, or from your knees to your shoulder. A lot of like you're like if you're on video,
Yeah.
and then push,
Yeah.
press, whatever. So you have snatches, you have power cleans, all those terminologies that I can't remember or think of, and like just 100 different variations of that.
Right.
But it's as you just alluded to, it involves a lot of fairly complex compound movements.
Yeah.
That is very technical. Okay. And so I'm someone who has essentially zero weightlifting background and experience.
Yeah.
Sure, I've gone to the gym maybe 10 times in my life and have done, deadlifts and back squats, a handful of times. But even deadlifts, back squats, those are very simple. Like even that, like, like, oh, a lot of people do it. No, they're not doing it properly. But like, no, that stuff is fairly straightforward compared to, let's say, like a snatch, right? Where you're using a barbell, you're lifting to the ground, and in one movement, you're putting it above your head, and then you have a stance where you're like, your feet are either planted front and back or side to side.
It's like several exercises in one.
Yes, yeah. Either you're like landing in a squat, or you're landing in a half squat, or you're like not even landing. Like it's really complicated. And so in CrossFit, it's in a class environment, right? So this is essentially my critique, which is it's not an ideal way to learn and practice complex weightlifting movements in a class environment where the exercise is in a high intensity at volume and under a time cap. So this is what happened. Okay. Last two Fridays ago, I went to the class. Every day is different. I don't know what's happening. And I show up and it's like, oh, today we're going to do snatches. So snatch is barbell from the floor to above your head. And there's a different variation of snatches, but basically as long as you get the barbell from the floor to above your head, that's a snatch. And it's my first time in my life doing snatches, other than like learning it for 10 minutes during a fundamental orientation course before I started the classes, right? But
sure, yeah.
These are things that you spend a lifetime perfecting, right?
Yeah.
Just because you showed me how to do a snatch for 10 minutes doesn't mean I know how to do a snatch.
Yeah.
And then so you mentioned mobility. That's another reason why I couldn't do it properly, because I have really bad shoulder mobility. Have you done front squats before?
Yes. I don't enjoy them, but I have.
So to do a front squat, you got to keep your elbows up.
Yeah.
Okay, elbows up, and then whatever. And then I can't keep my elbows up very well because of my shoulder mobility. And then when you have to snatch above your head, you got to make sure it's above your head. But then to do that, you got to keep your, but you got to also have your hips back. That's all to say. It's a bit hard to follow, but that's all to say because of my mobility issues, I can't do the movement very well. And so what ended up happening is that I put undue pressure on my back to compensate for my lack of balance, my lack of mobility, the lack of proper form. Usually, it's you're using your legs, you're not supposed to use your back, but because I wasn't doing it properly, I was using my back. And so either I tweaked or I injured, I don't know what variation, but my back hurt for the next week. And I'm like, hell, what the heck? I'm going to this to make me healthier. Why am I getting injured?
Yeah.
But it's like, it's because the exercise that day involved 5x5 snatches plus burpees. Anyways, it's 5x5 plus other stuff.
Yeah.
So here I am. I can't even do one snatch correctly. But under time pressure at intensity, I'm doing 5x5 snatches.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Like, what is this? Why am I? And then I'm pushing myself. And so in my head, I'm like, well, I should probably go and learn the fundamentals of these different movements. Make sure I can do it with proper technique at minimal weights. Let's say with just the bar, right? Whether it's 35 pounds with a female bar, 45 pounds with a male bar, just minimal weight. Let me just do one rep correctly before I do 5x5 reps.
Yeah.
So that's what I don't like about CrossFit, is that you're doing fairly complex movements at volume with intensity under a time cap, because they're like, oh, you have 12 minutes to do this, when I can't even do one rep properly.
Well, there right away, I could see where the critique might come in from others, because like, I would imagine it's very hard to move up in weight then under those circumstances, right? Like, because you want to be able to perfect the weight that you're at before you up your weight.
Add weights.
Yeah. Like it would take much longer, for example, than if you went to the gym and did like, some bicep curl squats. If you're doing that every day, you can probably up your weight pretty quickly. And it also just sounds like so easy to injure yourself at CrossFit. Like one wrong little move, because you're right, it is super technical because you're doing things so quickly.
Very technical. Yeah.
Like one wrong move and you could tweak anything, really.
Let me very briefly give you the sort of devil's advocate or the other side to it, which is how it could work. So there's coaches, and their job is to walk around and they give you pointers. They look at your form. If you're doing it wrong, they'll give you pointers. But the problem with that is it's a class, right? So I can't just be like, okay, ideally for someone as noob as me, I want the coach eyes on me the entire time, fix my form after every single rep, right? I don't want to do 5 wrong reps before you come and correct my form after 1 wrong rep, right?
Yeah.
And then when I do the next rep, tell me what I'm doing there, because wrong there, because at my stage, I'm doing something wrong every single rep.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they can't do that or even if they can, I feel bad. I can't just, because there's like 6, 7, 8, 9 other people in the class.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there are coaches, so you can ask them. And I think it comes down to, you just have to make sure you don't feel any pressure from society, from the class, from the coach to go heavier than you are absolutely comfortable with.
I could see you going in there right away and being like, I could like lift, whatever weight this is.
Not just because I can, but like, I don't want to look bad.
Only because I've been to like a couple of those workout classes with you, and you're just like right away, like even when the instructor's like, oh, this is the first round, like, just use the bar, like this is David's like, I could put weight on this, like first round I could let's go. So I could totally see you at a CrossFit gym being like, I could put a lot of weight on this.
I don't want the audience to think, okay, I don't know if I'm not coming from a place of arrogance, though. I'm coming from a place of
no, I know,
wanting to go hard on myself, and not take an easy route out.
Yeah.
And so I know during those times I felt like I injured myself. I know during that exercise I was not comfortable. So I just needed to have because like no one's forcing me they're not going to be like, what a week, like they're not going to do that for sure. So it was up to me to tell the coach, like, even this is too much for me. I'm not comfortable. I don't feel in control. So I'm going to go down. And so if I just do that, if I just go minimal weight and just focus on my technique, then I think it's okay. But to your point, you're maybe going to load up the weights at a much slower pace because you're not having the time and the slower pace to learn the technique first before doing more reps and before doing it at a high volume.
Yeah. Yeah, it almost sounds like CrossFit is one of those things where you need like a personal trainer for like the first however many classes to get your technique right.
So in my opinion, you can do CrossFit as a beginner. but it's more ideal that you learn the fundamental movements with a personal trainer first, and then once you're ready, then you're like, okay, now I need a CrossFit environment for the structure to challenge myself,
Yeah.
to know how to ramp up the intensity, ramp up the reps. But
Yeah.
until you have that fundamentals, it doesn't make sense to have high reps.
Yeah.
Anyways, but the point is, I think the takeaway is, there are different ways to do exercise. There's CrossFit, that's very general, but like, weightlifting is its own thing, cardio is its own thing. But in the bottom line is, exercise is definitely the most potent drug for health, based on everything that I've learned. So yeah, keep at it, everyone. If you're trying to, exercise regularly. It just takes up a lot of time, though.
It does, but it's time well spent.
So on the topic of health, one other thing that I recently, in the past couple months, started to doing differently was really trying to take an even more aggressive approach at managing my screen time. So you might not think about it as health, but it very much is, in terms of just your general like headspace, your ability to get to the things that you want to do, which will improve your mood and your, and for me anyway, I was spending way too much time on Twitter, way too much time on Instagram Reels, because I uninstalled TikTok ages ago. But then it was only just replaced by Instagram Reels.
Yeah.
And so it got to a point where, because I have so many things I want and need to get done in my life, and I try out many different things, but at the end of the day, I just always found myself, after a period of time, I'm having these days where like I might not feel like something, and then I just be like, oh, just gonna rest, and I end up sitting on the sofa like scrolling for an hour. And so I uninstalled both Twitter and Instagram.
Wow. You uninstalled them. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, with an asterisk. So I kept hockey Twitter. So I have a different Twitter account where no, this is not interesting to anyone, but anyway, sports is very different. It's there's a lot of value in keeping up with the tweets, but like once I get to the top of my feed, which only takes like a couple minutes, that's it, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Twitter is endless. It's endless.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially if I'm doing recommended. I don't do recommended for hockey stuff. So my point is, I still have Twitter for hockey, and I still check Instagram on my computer, but I only do it like once a day during my routine at lunchtime. And desktop Instagram is very unappealing. Very unappealing.
Yeah, there's nothing that you can scroll really on there. It's like
you can, but it's just not like you're not gonna. It's not as accessible, right?
Right.
So yeah, that's sort of a drastic approach I took. So I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter anymore, and I'm trying to think to myself, okay, has my mental health improved? Because when you're on Twitter, and the kind of Twitter world that I am in, it's very divisive. Have I felt better? Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest.
Yeah.
If I have a tangible difference, but it's definitely. It has. Let's just put it this way. I don't feel that my life is missing anything, just because I don't know about how the left and right are screaming at each other anymore.
Have you felt more productive? Because you have, I guess, more time. Yeah.
I think the key for me is I don't feel left out. That was the key fear, right? Like I'm interested in current events. I'm interested in pop culture. I want to be in the know.
Right.
I have not felt anything missing. I have not for once be like, oh, damn, I don't know what's going on anymore. I wish I did. Like that thought never occurred to me.
Right.
So it's not so much has it improved. If it is, that's a bonus almost. But for me, it's like, how is it detractive from my life to not have it? And the answer is unequivocally 0% detraction from my quality of life to not be on Twitter at all, to not be on Instagram nearly as much.
Well, that is a good thing, because inevitably you're freeing up more time that you would have spent on Instagram and Twitter. You now are doing something else, I assume.
Yeah, because like with Instagram stuff, right? Like oftentimes you're like, oh, I want to know what like my friends are up to. Like what if I'm like out of the know? Well, for first, I already don't really look at most people's stories. I don't know if this sounds bad, but sometimes I see myself looking at someone's stories. I'm like, why am I spending my life looking at this person's stories? This is completely stupid and inconsequential. So like over time, I've ended up muting, I would say 95% of the people I follow to end their stories. I didn't mute yours, G, don't worry.
I was just going to say, am I muted?
No, you're not muted.
Wow,
not muted.
I feel special.
But it's not personal. Cool. It's just like, what's important to my life? It doesn't mean that these friends are not important. It's just like their daily updates. Are they important? Honestly, I don't know. they're frankly not. And if someone else tells me, David, your daily updates, if I did them, are not important, I wouldn't not be offended in the slightest. I'd be like, yeah, they're not. Of course they're not. What are you doing? Is that harsh to say? I don't know. Like, what do you think?
Well, I don't know. I find them interesting. So, you know, I enjoy looking at seeing what people are up to.
Well, no, they're interesting, but like, are they worth your time?
I mean, probably not, but what's worth my time? I don't know. I do think though, like, yeah, I mean, being on social media all the time definitely has a toll, because like sometimes I'll be scrolling on social media and I'm like, I need to get off this thing because I have shit to do. Like I have things that I need to be doing right now. But then it's just so addicting to continue the thumb scrolling, and I'm just like, okay, two more. But
Yeah,
it's an
by
addiction.
the end of the day, especially once you're done, it's like, how has that? What value has that added to my life? And it's almost always like the first 5 minutes. I think it's fine, you know, especially for Reels or TikTok. Like I've learned a lot of stuff about life through stuff, right? And then like even sharing it with friends and my partner or whatever, that builds some connection, but only to a point. I think your key word is moderation, right? So if you spend 10 minutes a day on it, I think that's great. I think that adds value to your life. I absolutely do. Like it's relaxing, it's funny, it's relatable. You send it to your friends, you guys have a laugh about it. But it's when you end up doom scrolling for like over half an hour, that's when it definitely does not add any value to your life.
This is why
for me, when I can't control myself, I've just resorted to going cold turkey, essentially.
Yeah. This is why I've been, and speaking, we were just talking about exercise and you're like, oh, but it takes a lot of time. I find myself going to more workout classes now after work, just because I'm like, if I was not at this class where I take this hour of no phone or anything, I'd be on my phone for likely the better part of the hour.
Anyway.
Yeah, I might as well go do something productive. So I guess, it is. You need to replace, speaking of, the habit loop or whatever, you need to replace your bad habits with the good ones. But if you don't have anything to replace that with, then you're like, okay, well, I might as well be scrolling, I guess. So,
well,
but that is drastic. And I applaud you for doing it. I don't think I could, at least
but
not right now.
You're not missing out. Don't worry. You're not missing out.
Yeah.
She's like, I am.
I just can't imagine a life without social media. I mean, it might sound sad to say, but I can't imagine a life without social media.
So as I said, for Instagram, I do still look at it during lunchtime once a day. And so I'm still like, for example, my mom would be devastated if I don't look at her reels.
But that's so intentional. Stories. Like that is like you dedicate a time to
healthy. That's I like it. It's healthy. It's intentional. I'm like, okay, this is my time to just catch up on what are my friends up to. But it's really different doing it that way versus it's on your phone and when you're waiting for the elevator, scroll.
Totally.
When I'm waiting for my food to come, scroll.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah. When I'm in the elevator and there's zero signal, yet I'm refreshing, even though I know there's zero signal.
Why doesn't this work? Maybe this will be the time it works in the elevator.
For the 1 minute where I'm riding the elevator, I cannot not look at my phone. Oh my gosh, it's so sad.
My last thought before you can wrap it up is, remember the good old days when you would take a shit and you would spend that time reading the label on your shampoo bottle? Are you old enough to do that?
Well, no, but I used to be the chicken soup for the soul book girl on the toilet. I would read the chicken soup books.
You read that book?
Yeah.
No, man, it's about the shampoo bottle ingredients, yo. That's where it's at. You don't have anything to do when you're taking a crap, and then you just reach for the closest thing near you, which is your body wash or shampoo, and you just read and reread those labels 100 times. That's what I used to do as a kid. It's good, those good old days. Okay, I swear at least half the people listening are like, yep, I'm with you, David.
Yeah, I'm sure
Maybe we can do a poll on our podcast Instagram page.
Yeah.
Do you read your shampoo bottles when you take a shit in the old days?
Yeah, no, I used to bring a book into the bathroom.
Well, hopefully this was an episode that, maybe motivated or encouraged folks to refocus on the wellness, but in a healthy way. think about exercise, relate to some of our illness, ailments, and woes. I have to say, I've had like bouts here and there of feeling a little bit sick, but I've rarely come down with something. Like I get a bit of like energy level, I get like fatigue,
Yeah.
maybe a tickle in the throat, but I don't really get sick much.
Yeah, I used to be really good at being able to like nip it in the bud if I just take some emergency, if I get really good sleep, and if I just do all the right things, and I'm usually able to like fight the cold. But because this, I'm pretty sure it's a virus of some sort. There's just nothing that I could do to prevent the being full blown sick because viruses are so much different. Um, but yeah, so yeah, I think we've covered quite a few topics today, but I think there's still more to cover. Like maybe we could do another episode. Like we didn't talk about sleep.
What?
We didn't talk about,
Okay.
I mean, we talked about it here and there in other episodes, but like nutrition, foods, and there's supplements, things like that. So, maybe we can punt it to
And then
another
we'll add
episode.
add in the fine print. None of this is official medical advice. Please speak to your family doctor. Do not follow this advice. If anything happens, it's not our fault.
That was great. You just said that off the cuff. That was great. One little minor tip for the day: please wash your fruits and vegetables thoroughly to prevent any food poisoning or sickness, and also don't eat leftovers that have been left out of the fridge for more than a few hours because you could also get food poisoning that way.
I'm
prevent food poisoning today. Are you?
For me, it's 1 hour at room temperature and it's done.
My mom is always she's always like, I worry for you because of the way that I wash my fruit and vegetables. I don't know. I feel like I'm washing them pretty thoroughly, but she's the kind like of person where she'll have like, the big bowl where she'll soak it in like salt or I don't know, whatever for hours before. I don't do that. And she says I should. And I just wash, my fruits and vegetables over the sink. She's always like, I'm so worried for you. Like you're going to get food poisoning, whatever.
Damn, we have so many good questions. All right. Number one, do you read the shampoo bottles when you take a shit before the smartphone was invented? Number two, do you soak your vegetables when you wash them or do you just rinse them under the tap? Number three, what's number three? Do you only lift and you don't do any cardio? Shame on you. Not shame on you. That's fine. I'm just kidding. There's a lot of interesting
poll questions for this week.
Poll questions. I soak, not all the time, but for example, like broccoli, I soak a lot. But not all the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to be more diligent with it, like because my mom taught me the same thing. She's like, add salt, soak. So I used to soak a lot of vegetables in a tub of water with salt. Who's got time for that?
I know. I need to eat it right now.
Wait, do you wash your raw meat before you marinate it, cook it, whatever?
No. Do you?
Okay, this, I swear, this is the hot topic here. I don't either, but I've been in close proximity with people who have strong opinions about that.
Really?
I think it's a cultural thing.
Maybe.
Yeah. So
in my mind, like, example, I'm cooking
you buy a pack of like chicken breasts or like beef, whatever, and you open you take it out of the package and then you like put it directly into the pan. Essentially, you don't wash it and stuff.
No.
Yeah.
It gets soggy. The only thing I do is fish. Yeah.
I bet at least 25% of our listeners are like rolling in their. Wait, they're not dead. They're not rolling in the grave.
Our listeners are not dead.
No. I bet at least 25% of people listening are reacting to us not washing our meat with revulsion right now.
Really? Okay, let's do a poll. Let's do a poll. I have to see. Do you wash your rice?
Of course I wash my rice. Are you kidding me?
Oh, okay. Some people don't wash their rice. I took a culinary class in grade 10 and the culinary instructor was like
the nutrients get washed away.
Yeah. That's exactly what she said. She's like, you don't need to wash your rice. So I wash it, but that's only because I don't even know why. Apparently you don't.
Yeah, they're like, oh, if you wash it, you're going to get rid of all the starch, which is healthy or whatever. Like get rid of it. Yeah. I honestly, I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. See, a lot of these habits that we have created for ourselves.
It's cultural, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of these habits are cultural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Maybe we should wrap it up there.
Yeah, we need to wrap it up.
But thanks for thanks for hanging out with us today as we talk about our health and wellness in our 30s. And maybe more topics will come up and we'll do a second part at some point.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Take care, everyone. Give us a rating. Share our pod with a friend. And let us know. We don't hear from our listeners enough, for sure. It's just G and I talking. It's not as interesting. So let us know your thoughts. Okay. Bye.
Bye.